Welcome to the business interview. I'm Markus Karlsson. Today we're honing in on how technological change is reshaping healthcare. The industry seemed to have been slow to incorporate technological progress, but now the market for e-health is growing rapidly. And by one estimate, it will grow to $160 billion by next year. In this show, we're speaking to two entrepreneurs who want to tap into that growth. Franck Baudino and Vincent Hillmayer are from the company Health for Development, or H4D. Franck is the chief executive and Vincent the managing director. H4D, just to tell you a little bit about it, has developed a medical booth that allows users to be examined from afar. It's meant to respond to what's known in France as medical deserts, areas where healthcare professionals are few and far between. Welcome, first of all, gentlemen, to the program. It's great to have you here. Now, Franck, I want to start with you. I would like you to tell us a little bit more about this medical booth. How does it actually work?
So, thank you very much, first of all. The H4D medical booth, it's a real innovation for healthcare systems. First of all, I've invited this new medical device to promote access to remote or isolated areas. How does it work? That's a very good question. First of all, you have to understand that we integrate the healthcare system. It's not another solution. It's a plus for the doctors and for the patient.
It's not meant to basically replace. You're a doctor as well. It's not meant to replace a doctor.
We can't replace a doctor, and we need a doctor every time, you know, especially to do a remote consultation. So when a patient needed to have a prescription or to have a consultation, he can go inside the booth and is on relation with the remote doctor. He can see him by video conference, and the doctor can do exactly what he used to do on the consulting room.
Which means taking blood pressure, taking the
blood
temperature,
pressure,
weighing the patient.
Temperature, weight, height, pulsations, EKG. He can hear the heart. He can do exactly what he used to do as he used to do in his consulting room.
What can't you do with this booth, though? Because obviously, if you can't see the patient, there must be something amiss, so to speak, or something that's not as usual.
No, this is a professional device, so you can see your patient. This is very important. You can't do maybe few things, in fact. Sometimes you can use the patient to touch himself too. You understand? So
self-examination.
Yes, for the examination. So you have the doctor who can manage you every time. He can see the patient can see him, and he can use all the instruments in the booth. So you can do a lot of things, for example, for cardiological problems, lumps problems, a lot of things, even skin or...
Vincent, what does a booth like this actually cost?
The starting price is at 1,500 euros per month for a fully equipped booth, and it's very accessible.
So that's a subscription cost, so to speak?
It is.
What about the cost at the very start? How much does it cost to buy a booth like this?
It's the full inclusive cost. So to operate a booth, we lease them at 1,500 euros a month.
What does the competition look like when it comes to this? I mean, mobile phones these days, they can do an awful lot of things. They can measure heart rates. They can even take the blood sugar level of a diabetic. Isn't there a risk that you could be sort of overtaken by technology and technological change?
Technology is evolving, and so here, this is a first where, leveraging technology, we provide access to a real consultation, a full consultation. Our booths are better equipped than many doctors' offices, and you asked, what can we do? We estimated that over 80, maybe 90% of the reasons why a patient goes to see a doctor can be treated within the booth. The other reasons would be those requiring access to emergency rooms or some very specific cases. So what we're talking about is we're providing access to affordable, quality care available everywhere.
Now, will this cut national healthcare costs? Is that part of the idea, or will it just add to the bill for a country such as France, for instance?
It will contribute to a better control on cost by reducing unnecessary transfers to emergency room, by managing transportation costs and requirements, by also helping institutions to rethink the way they organize their the pathways within their institutions for patients, because you can rely on the booth to do a number of steps currently done by personnel, and these personnel can then be more focused on other care tasks.
Franck, there is this impression that healthcare has been quite slow to adapt to technological changes. Would you agree with that? Has the healthcare sectors and perhaps you doctors been quite sort of reticent when it comes to adopting new technologies and taking them on?
I'm not really sure, you know. First of all, I would like to answer one question you asked, which was very, very important. We are not in competition with mobile phone because we are professional. Why the doctor didn't use before this kind of technology? It's only because you didn't have before us professional medical devices which can be used by doctors. Now they can use it. So they are very interesting on using this kind of new medical device because by the use of the H4D booth, doctors can do as they used to do. If you just use a mobile phone, for example, you won't have the real measures. So that's very important for the doctor to have the real blood pressure, for example, or to have the real sound on the ear for the patient, from the patient. That's why maybe before this kind of technology, they didn't use a lot.
Have regulators been able to keep up with this development? I mean, there are some issues that come up with this remote use or with telemedicine, for instance, when it comes to privacy and where the data actually goes, this data from the booths and to doctors. Where does the data end up?
So telemedicine is very regulated, and H4D complies with all regulations when we develop and implement programs. So as far as data, all the data is secured, is stored in secured and certified data rooms, and all access to data is extremely secure. So there is no worries to have on that end. We comply with all regulations.
I have to ask you about your business model. How many booths of this kind are you hoping to sell?
Our goal is, so we estimate that there is a very significant potential for these booths. They can be installed in a number of settings. We talked about, I think, remote areas. So obviously this is a solution where in a situation where you didn't have access to a doctor, and this is a growing problem in rural areas or remote areas, well, now you can have access to a doctor. There are thousands of these that are areas that exist today, and the problem is growing. That's one situation. Institutions, well, homes for the elderly, retirement homes, nursing homes, thousands of them only in France. You can imagine the number globally. We have solutions here that provide a different kind of care and more care. We really complement the care organizations of these institutions.
And where are you available now? Is it just in France,
market
or can
today,
anyone get a booth, essentially?
Obviously, our home market is France. That's where we have started to implement our solutions. We have also some implementations in Africa and many projects internationally.
What happens next after the ConsultStation? What happens technologically? What else is in the pipeline, so to speak, when it comes to technological progress in the healthcare sector? What do you say about that, Franck? What happens after, as I say, the ConsultStation?
There are a lot of secrets, technological perspectives, but we can imagine to implement other instruments inside the ConsultStation. But the most important,
adding features, essentially.
Adding features, yes. But the most important, it's all the healthcare programs we can promote around the ConsultStation. For example, for elderly, for students, for workers. That's very important for us, all the programs we can promote around this booth. It's not only the technology, it's all what we can do with the technology. That's the future. For example, we can imagine because we spoke a lot about public sector, but the private sector is very interested by our medical device. So we can imagine a lot of things to take care about patient on petroleum platform or in other situations.
Basically, where healthcare is very hard to come by.
For example.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the landscape and your competition once again. What does this segment actually look like? Are there a lot of startups like yourselves, a lot of growing startups, or is this e-health area dominated by the usual suspects and the major pharmaceutical companies, for instance? What does the competition landscape look like, Vincent?
Telemedicine has been a topic for a number of years now. Still, you don't have any major player present in the field, or not significantly, and so there is still. This is an area where we have a number of young companies like H4D that are very active. Nobody actually dominates the sector. It's a very diverse sector today, and we have a very interesting and very novel solution to offer.
All right, we're going to have to wrap it up there because we have run out of time. Vincent, I want to thank you for coming in. Franck as well, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us here at the Business Interview. And thank you to you at home for watching. Do stay with us here at France 24. We've got more news coming your way.